Hello, today I'm going to be talking about language translation, a bit of language acquisition as well, um, in regards to why it is easier to translate English into Romance languages than it is to translate English into harder Asian languages like Chinese and Japanese. So there are different components to discuss, like linguistics and geography. I'm going to explain it in plain man's terms because this will turn into a history lesson, which isn't the aim of the video. But for you know-it-alls out there who know everything about the origin of English and Romance languages, bravo, you're officially smarter than me. Go nuts in the comment section. So, reason one, Romance languages and English derived from the same language basically, called Latin. This is why vocabulary between English, Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian can appear similar and either can be the same meaning or false friends. If you don't know what false friends mean, it basically means that it's the same word but has a different meaning in the different language. So this is one language family, so Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese. In comparison to Chinese, which belongs to a completely different language family and shares more things in common with Japanese and Korean, which is can be seen quite plainly when we look at the alphabet of Japanese. Kanji has derived from traditional Chinese writing, and Korean used to use a form of kanji called hanja, which they don't. Is that hanja, which they don't use anymore. Reason two. Now, since English-speaking countries are generally close to these Romance language-speaking countries like Mexico and America, Spain, France, and England, for an example, it is quite easy for Western culture to influence language development, thus making it easier for translators because of the language development and the vocabulary sharing which goes on. And as we develop as a society and more words are being added to these languages and words are being created, there is much more in common. So, in comparison to China and Japan, where there has been a bit of history where these countries actually have isolated themselves and gone a bit quiet and not gone into communication with other countries for a while. However, this is a small reason because those periods of isolation were actually quite small in history and not very much of a highlight. So that is a small reason to why this can affect language development and to why translation could potentially be harder. Reason three, when we look at a sentence, for example, I speak Japanese, Spanish, and English. So when I look at a sentence in English or Spanish, I can see the tense and the conjugation of the verbs, and the spelling of the word provides its meaning to me. In my brain, I know, for example, take the verb estar, meaning to be. I can know what tense, conjugation, and the meaning of the word estar. So when it's like, ¿cómo estás? So how are you? How are you going? How are you being? Or ¿dónde está? Where is he or she or whatever, you know? Those Latin words, I get the meaning from the spelling and the verb conjugation and the tense. However, in comparison to Japanese, the characters actually provide the meaning to the sentence when we're looking at the written aspect of translation. So, thus concluding that theoretically, when translating English and Spanish, you can actually do it word for word. So, for example, if someone has studied Spanish for 2 years or whatever, just in their room, they could actually just translate word for word from English to Spanish and vice versa. And technically, it would make sense. It might sound off to the ear because there has no been exposure to colloquialism, meaning that saying meaning, for example, when I say what's up or what's happened or whatever, they might get the translation a bit off and it might sound off to ear because it doesn't sound natural. So when I look at Japanese as a language and when I'm translating English to Japanese and vice versa, I'm actually looking at the characters because the characters provide the meaning to me. Thus concluding that when we are translating in Japanese, for example, we are not generally translating word for word or words. We are actually translating meaning of the whole sentence because due to the meaning, some words can actually be translated differently to get the sentence across better, and it would sound more natural. Anyways, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you've gotten some insight to why it is harder to translate some languages into English than others and vice versa. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Until I see you next time. Thank you.